She didn't flinch when the first cup of soda exploded against her back. She didn't even turn around when they laughed and shouted, "Drink it, btch." Because if she turned, 3 men would realize they had just dumped their drinks on the Navy SEAL who commands their entire task force, a woman trained to take down combat units twice their size, a woman who'd survived hell to protect the very people who mocked her tonight. But what none of them knew was this. She wasn't here as their commander. Tonight, she was just a sister, trying not to fall apart. The bar smelled like cheap whiskey, sticky floors, and Friday night desperation. The kind of place people came to forget themselves. Lieutenant Commander Alyssa Lyss Ward chose it because no one here would recognize her. No uniforms. No salutes. No expectations. Just noise loud enough to drown the memories. Earlier that morning, she'd stood on the pier at Naval Base Coronado, staring at the folded flag in her hands. It belonged to her brother, her baby brother, who had enlisted too young, deployed too soon, and never made it home. The guilt gnawed at her like a rusted blade. She was the one who trained him. She was the one he idolized. She was the one who told him he was ready. And now she was the one who buried him. Alyssa sat alone at a small corner table, fingers wrapped around a glass she wasn't drinking. Her jaw clenched every time she swallowed, the ache rising in her throat. She'd been through combat zones, ambushes, and night dives in freezing waters. But grief? Grief was an enemy she couldn't shoot, couldn't outswim, couldn't outthink. She just needed one quiet night to breathe. But peace doesn't survive long in the presence of drunk, bored men who think strength looks like cruelty. 3 of them stumbled out of the bar line, all loud voices and slurred egos. They were young, early 20s, wearing the same unit patches from Coronado. Her unit. Her task force. The same boys who would snap to attention if they saw her in uniform. But here? Here she was just a woman in jeans, hood up, eyes down. They never even glanced at her face. The first cup of soda hit her shoulders with a cold splash. The second dripped sticky syrup down her neck. The third one hit the floor beside her, soaking her boots. "Why'd you stop?" one of them laughed. "Told you she'd just sit there like a btch." "Drink it, sweetheart," another slurred. "Drink it, btch." They thought she was invisible. They thought she was weak. They thought she was no one. Alyssa inhaled slowly. She didn't look at them. She didn't move. Because if she reacted even a twitch, they'd recognize the stance, the aura, the eyes. And then everything would unravel. She whispered to herself, barely audible, "Not tonight, please, not tonight." But fate, like grief, had no mercy. A tap landed on her shoulder. Heavy. Mocking. She sighed long, tired, defeated. Then she stood up. It was the way she rose, controlled, centered, steady, that made the laughter die out. Her hood fell back. Her eyes lifted. Recognition, terror, sobriety, all hit them at once. Holy! Commander Ward? Oh my God! She didn't raise her voice. She didn't have to. "Outside," she said softly. "Now." They followed like condemned men. Not because she ordered it, but because leadership never leaves you. Even dripping in soda and grief, she had a presence that bent the room around her. Outside, under the harsh glow of streetlights, she looked at each of them. Not angry. Not even disappointed. Just tired. So devastatingly tired. "You don't recognize your own commander," she said quietly. "You don't respect strangers. You don't control yourselves. And you don't know what battles people are already fighting." They swallowed hard, shame settling in like concrete. "Commander, we didn't know. Ma'am, we're so sore." She raised a hand, silencing them. "I'm not here to punish you. But I will teach you something." They straightened instinctively. "You attacked someone tonight who was already hurting. Someone you could have helped. Someone you should have protected." One of the boys blinked, confused. Ma'am, what happened? Alyssa clenched her jaw, then exhaled. My brother died this morning, she said. I came here to be alone. And instead, I got this. Their faces broke. Apologies spilled out, trembling and raw. But she wasn't finished. You want to honor me, she said. Honor him. Be better men than you were 5 minutes ago. None of them spoke. And for the first time all day, Alyssa felt something shift inside her chest. Not relief. Not healing. But something like space. Space where courage might return. The next morning, the sun rose pink over the base as Alyssa walked onto the training field. She expected whispers, awkward glances, maybe even avoidance. What she didn't expect was silence. A whole task force standing in formation, hundreds of them waiting for her. At the front were the 3 young men from last night, cleaned up, sober, and standing at rigid attention. One stepped forward. Commander Ward, permission to speak freely? She nodded. We messed up. Badly. But last night, you showed us something we didn't deserve, Grace. Strength. And a reminder that we're supposed to be better. So, he swallowed. We organized this. He lifted his hand. And the entire task force snapped to a salute. Her chest tightened. She wasn't prepared for this. She'd been ready to lead a mission, to carry the unit, to bury the pain under duty. But she wasn't ready for support. For loyalty that came from something deeper than rank. A senior chief stepped forward. Commander, we heard about your brother. He was family. And so are you. Alyssa tried to inhale, but the breath caught. Her throat closed. Her eyes burned. She didn't cry in combat. She didn't cry during Hell Week. She didn't cry at the funeral. But she cried now. Not because she was weak. But because she wasn't alone anymore. The senior chief continued, voice steady. We run today. For him. For you. For all of US who didn't make it home. Alyssa looked at them, every face brave, steady, unwavering. This was her family. The one she earned. The one she fought for. The one that would not let her drown. She wiped her eyes, straightened her shoulders, and stepped forward. Then let's run, she said, voice breaking but strong. Let's run for all of them. And the task force moved as one. Boots hitting ground. Breath forming mist in the morning air. A rhythm of unity, grief, and strength. Halfway through the run, the 3 young men slowed to match her pace. Commander, one said softly, we'll do better. We swear. Alyssa glanced at them, really looked at them, for the first time. You already have, she said. Because redemption doesn't start with perfection. It starts with owning your mistakes, and choosing to rise. By the time they finished the run, the sun was high, the sky bright, and Alyssa felt something she hadn't felt in months. Hope. Not the loud kind. Not the cinematic kind. But the quiet, enduring kind, the kind that comes from remembering that even warriors need someone to lean on. And as she stood there, surrounded by the very people who once feared her, the very team she'd die for, she realized something powerful. Strength isn't never breaking. Strength is breaking, and choosing to keep going.